I don't understand. You're moving back to California because they will accept you for being trans while a red state hates you. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Well, maybe you don't understand because you made that up. I'm not trying to be too mean because you said good luck to you, so I appreciate that, but you just made all that up. You would think, here's the thing. Is it partly my fault because obviously talking about trans issues has been a big part of my career? It's a big part of my online presence, of course, and so I get it. However, you would think that there's like nothing else to my life except for trans if you listen to some of y'all. Like, I'm moving to another state, it has to be about trans. I'm doing this, it has to be about trans. No. The same thing happened when I moved to Texas. Everyone's like, oh, all this is going to happen to you in Texas because you're trans, don't go. And then I go. And I'm more received there than in California. I moved back to California, first of all. I was born in California. I did a whole video about this. I hate repeating myself, but it's annoying. Because there's articles about it, viral tweets about it, and people just don't let it go. Me moving to California has nothing to do with me being trans. Like, zero. I was born in California, so to pretend as if because I spent 4 years in Texas means I can never come back to where I was born and where my entire family lives is kind of crazy. Because I don't remember ever saying that when I moved to Texas, I was never going to go back. I moved to Texas during COVID. And COVID is over. I don't want to say too much because whatever, but I have a lot of opportunities in the future in California. I've learned from talking to you soon, but I have a lot of opportunities coming to me out here. So let's just say that. A lot of aspirations for what I really want to do in life. Some of y'all know what that is. And also, yeah, I didn't leave Texas because anything was wrong with Texas per se. Like, I had a wonderful life in Texas. I was so blessed in Texas. I thought that, I don't know what I thought when I first moved there. I was very nervous, but I had, some of the best career highlights ever in Texas. I was on Joe Rogan in Texas. I was on InfoWars. I did Roseanne. I feel like I elevated a lot out in Texas. I was received very kindly by everyone I was ever around. Sometimes it was a little too much. Sometimes people were in my business too much, right? When I see stuff like this, I'm like, oh, you guys think the TV's real. Oh, okay. You think like the TV says Texas is mean to trans people and California loves trans people. That's like what you guys think life is. But as someone who's like living life and is trans, it's never that simple. And it's actually really not that true. It's really not that true. I'm so sorry to say the TV is not telling you the truth. In the past, you mentioned conservative influencers being gay. Did you mean Benny Johnson? New year, new you. If your resolution is to get your life together after the holidays, my friends at Hypnosio are going to hook you up and help you build habits that actually stick this year. That's why today's video is sponsored by Hypnosio. It's a self-hypnotherapy app that is genuinely not like anything else in the weight loss space. And I know everyone says, oh, this one is different, but Hypnosio really is. Hypnosio is not going to just throw another diet at you or shame you into working out. It goes deep and actually works with your subconscious to rewire your emotional patterns that lead to things like stress eating, overeating, and sabotaging your own goals. It uses guided hypnotherapy sessions accessible on any device or through their app. It targets things like emotional eating, portion control, and helps you with that anxiety that can oftentimes just make you feel stuck. It's science-backed, clinically supported, and honestly, way more affordable and accessible than going to see a hypnotherapist in person. Here's what makes it absolutely amazing. It helps rewire your automatic food responses, lowers stress and cortisol levels so that your body is not fighting your new progress. It teaches mindful eating and real hunger cues. And finally, it supports real long-term weight loss results with 94% of people keeping the weight off better than control groups. So if you're someone who is super busy, maybe you travel a lot, or you just don't want to micromanage your calories like I don't, this is perfect for you. Plans start as low as $11 a month, which is such a steal, such an amazing deal, especially considering it's actually rewiring your brain in such a positive way. So if you're ready to stop fighting yourself and actually feel in control, head to hypnosio.com or get the Hypnosio app on the App Store or Google Play and try it out today. Thank you so much to Hypnosio for sponsoring this episode of the Blaire White Project, and now on to the rest of the podcast. I don't remember actually talking about that before, or maybe I did, I don't know. But no, I was not talking about Benny Johnson. I've had no personal experience with Benny Johnson. However, yeah, it's It's a thing. It's like they're all gay. It's really weird. I couldn't tell you exactly why. I feel like psychologically and spiritually, it's kind of like if you're somebody who wants to put yourself out there on camera or be like a star of any kind, there is something like spiritually feminine about that. There is something like inherently like a little bit gay about that, a little bit feminine, a little divine feminine in you. You know, you want to be a little bit of a diva. And I'm not talking about openly gay ones, obviously. Like, yeah, everyone knows there's a very rising number of openly gay ones. But the thing, one of the things that libs do eat about, they do eat with this, is when they say that so many, you know, right-wing politicians and or influencers and prominent people are in fact in the closet, and some of them quite deep. You know, some of them are buried back there behind a few bodies, actually. Am I going to name names? No, I won't name names because I feel like if you're not retarded, I mean, you should have some level of gaydar in 2026. Everyone's so gay for you to not pick up on any of those traits and be able to detect it, even when it's subtle. I don't know what to tell you. But it is funny when I see certain influencers who I know through not personal experience of hooking up with them. Don't ever get that twisted. Never, never, never. But, you know, experience seeing things, knowing certain things, firsthand witness type stuff. Maybe them confiding in me when they're a little bit drunk and or high, because they also do that while bashing people who get drunk and high on the internet. It can be frustrating when I'm like, okay, you're online bashing, you know, gay people, trans people, whatever, which, fine, have your opinions. I certainly have them. I bash them all the time too. However, it's the hypocrisy I don't like. So for me, all my cards are out on the table, right? And so I'm the oftentimes seen as like the pariah in the right. I'm kind of that person that's always been there, is, you know, I'm just always been here, period. And I always will be. But I get sort of like I'm trying to say this in a way that communicates to you. I actually don't care. I actually prefer it. But I'm the black sheep, right? But a lot of these, you know, straight male conservative, you know, public influencers are very much enjoying that like super vanilla, normal, like platform by anybody. And secretly they're getting back shots. Receiving. But I'm never going to be. But also I'm not the person to ever out anybody. I do think that's trashy, even trashier than hooking up with men when you have a wife and or kids. But it is what it is. I also kind of realize everybody's gay. Like, maybe it's not a right-wing influencer thing. Maybe the reason why everyone's like, this industry's gay, this group of people are gay, is because everyone's just like kind of gay. Anyways, could you go more in depth about your experience with DMT? Sure. So I've done DMT 87 times. Just kidding. I did it 3 times. And it's been years. It's something that I tried to spread out. You know what I mean? It was maybe like when I first did it, I waited like another like year to do it again because it's such an intense experience. I really do think that psychedelics in general, but more so DMT, because DMT is in a whole separate lane than even like mushrooms, magic mushrooms, you know. I think that it is some sort of portal and or gateway into another dimension, or at least being able to detect another dimension, being able to perceive another dimension. And people act like all that's so woo-woo and crazy, but it's like at the end of the day, you know, ancient cultures and religions and beliefs have always, you know, held that stance about it, that it is a portal. And so it's only like this little tiny window of time that we look at it as like, oh, it just makes you see fake things. And it's like, well, no, because one thing about it is there's very consistent, you know, visions or interactions with other entities on DMT that people have across cultures, across, you know, time. And I did experience that. To go more in depth about my own experience, I did experience some sort of something. And I think that I've kind of come a little bit to a different perspective on it than initially, where I was like, oh, everyone should do this. It's so enlightening. It's so whatever. I actually think you should be oh so careful. I think that it is dangerous to mess with that stuff. I think if you're somebody who is already maybe not in a healthy mind frame, if you're somebody who suffers from different mental health issues, or if you're somebody who is going to be easily shook, frankly, I don't think you should do it. I think that it can be very healing for people. It actually did a lot for my life, I have to say. It healed a lot of childhood trauma for me. It gave me access to different parts of my brain for, just I got to know myself better on it. It's really hard to explain, and you really sound like you're, I probably sound crazy right now. But crazy doesn't equal wrong. That's what I always say. And it is what it is. It's a wild experience in which I do believe you do come into contact with some sort of other dimensional beings. And I think that that's something very dangerous if you're not somebody who is being very careful. So that's my answer. Why are you so based when so many of the LGBT community are so indoctrinated? Love you. Love you too. So for me, it's about unhealed trauma. When I really come to the conclusion that when I look out at the mindsets, perspective, and behavior of the community, and that's as an aggregate, that's clearly as, in general, we have to speak in generalities when we talk about a community. There are issues with the community, and for me, they all seem to stem back from an inability to integrate parts of themselves that they are running from. So when I see trans people that are so, they're just breaking down like syndrome over being misgendered, right? Filming I got misgendered in the parking lot. That is you refusing to integrate the fact that you are that sex that you are running from. So for me, I know it's complicated for people and it gets like a little bit whatever, but at the deepest level, I never feel like, at least at this point in my life, I am running from the fact that I'm male. Not only have I always been able to admit that openly and talk about that, I've seen it as a very important and actually crucial part of being a happy person, being a person who is able to contribute to the world, being a productive citizen, being the best me I can be, is not denying certain parts of myself, not lying to myself. And so I never believed for a second that I was changing sexes. But if you lie to yourself, maybe you hate who you were as, the other gender, that's going to come out in toxic ways to other people and in life and in public and online and whatever. And what does that stem from? Usually for me, when I look at that, it's unhealed trauma. So maybe something happened to you as a male, and so now you're trying to be a female, but you're running from that maleness so hard because it didn't feel good for you to be a male, or vice versa, right? And that's one reason. And and trans is such a psychologically complicated thing, and there's different reasons for people being trans. But it's also, with gay people, I see a lot of gay people who struggle with, addiction issues, and addiction always stems from unhealed traumas. That's an always thing. And if you're talking more so about just their opinions, well, I think that people in the community, they really segregate themselves from society. Even though they're so integrated into pop culture and into society now, they still do live in their own little confines. Usually the gay and trans people and lesbians that I have met and have been around, they're all friends with almost exclusively other LGBT people. So that creates a sort of like silo where, you have beliefs and political opinions that are not necessarily rational and logical, because when you're forming a political ideology, you're supposed to be factoring in all of society, not just you and your own little niche needs. That's when things start to become incompatible. So it's the fact that they really live in their own world. They really do. And it's a very traumatized community without sort of like the tools to fix and heal that, or to feel like they can overcome it. And when you don't feel like you can overcome things in life, what side of the political spectrum does that usually make you gravitate towards? Leftism, which is all about offloading the responsibility to other people, to taxpayers, to the government, to whatever. So long story short, this goes for everybody. You got to fix your shit. You got to meet yourself as that child that you were and say, what happened to you? It wasn't your fault. But what happens? This is everybody. No one leaves childhood or just life in general without some scars. And unless you're healing them and you have healed them, past tense, you're going to have issues in life and things are going to be whatever. It just so happens that the LGBT community is a heavily traumatized community. What is a conspiracy you fully believe in? Well, I don't really believe in any conspiracies. It's just I know certain things to be true. I have accepted certain things as true. Belief would be like, thinking something is true in the lack of evidence without having actual proof. And for me, the conspiracy that I take the most serious are the ones that I've spent years researching. It's ones that I maybe have witnessed in my own real life are true. And so let's try to think of some things that I believe conspiracies. Well, I know that the world is ran by the occult. I know that the heights of industry, government, United Nations, entertainment industry are completely controlled by different occult groups. Now, that ranges up from the Freemasons at the absolute lowest level, all the way up to, really just Satanists, right? So this is stuff that there is data out there. There is evidence out there. There is irrefutable evidence anywhere you want to research. So I believe that one because I know it to be true. And let's see what else. The alien and UFO topic, I think that there is a reality to it. I do not think it's the narrative coming out of like all the UFO hearings. I don't think it's a narrative that comes out in pop culture. I think it's very different than what people think it is, but I do believe there is a non-human presence on the planet. I think that anybody who spent a lot of time researching that, you end up coming to understand that at the very core. So do I believe the government narrative on that? Absolutely not. Do I think that there is a non-human element on the planet? Absolutely. MK Ultra is so annoying how people talk about how, do you believe in MK Ultra? It's not a matter of belief. It's documented. And it's still going on today. I do not believe in flat earth, but I think there is an insane amount of deception about outer space. For what? I don't fully know. Right? See, you can come to some conclusions without needing the whole story, right? Like, I've never been to space, so I don't know why there seems to be so much deception and, lies that come out of things like NASA and SpaceX. They get caught doing so many shady things. I don't really know exactly why. And after I, meet my maker, I know that I'll probably have that, information and I'll be like, damn, that was messed up. But there is something that there's some kind of reason there's so much deception around space. That doesn't mean I think that the earth is flat, because I don't. Giants were clearly a very real part of this planet up until pretty recently in history. And everyone gets so like giant, just tall people. You know how like every animal we see with fossils and stuff used to be like way bigger, like humans used to be way bigger. Every continent on the globe has indigenous history, including giants. Giant bones have been found. They've been covered up. There's a quote from Abraham Lincoln talking about how giants used to live in North America. And that's biblical, by the way. That's the Nephilim. So ultimately, what I really believe in is that every conspiracy theory leads to Jesus. And I'm so sorry if y'all don't relate to that. I'm only speaking what I know to be true. Because at the bottom of every rabbit hole is, we live in a world that is desperately trying to steer people away from Jesus. So giants can't be real because that would prove the Bible right? It can't be that every ancient culture in history talks about a massive flood, cataclysm of a flood. That can't be true. There's no evidence for that, even though there are buildings under the ocean, like on the seafloor, even though we've dug up buildings in North America all across the continent, even though the Sphinx in Egypt was clearly underwater. Every culture talks about it. Every religion talks about it, but it can't be true because that would mean that religion is true. So it's all a big get away from Jesus sort of thing. And that definitely was something that helped me come to Jesus, because I was like, oh no, if y'all are telling me to run left, I'm going to go right. Period. thank you so much to Hypnosio for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel as well as my main channel. Follow me on TikTok, X, Instagram, all the things, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.